Why bring back a beloved comedy for a sequel 41 years later? That's the question haunting fans of This Is Spinal Tap as its long-rumored follow-up, Spinal Tap II, The End Continues, finally arrives. But here's where it gets controversial. Is this sequel a nostalgic gift or a hollow cash grab? Let's dive into the absurdity, the humor, and the questions that linger after the credits roll. If you're old enough to remember the original, you might recall the mid-90s when This Is Spinal Tap first blew minds. For those of us in high school at the time, the film felt like a revelation, part documentary, part farce, and 100% unforgettable. The band's fake rock antics, from their staircase to heaven to their tragic drummers, became cultural shorthand for excess and folly. Fast forward to 2024, and the sequel arrives with a mix of nostalgia and skepticism. Why now? Well, the answer is part joke, part disappointment, and that tension defines the film. The sequel picks up decades later, with Spinal Tap reluctantly agreeing to one final show. The plot hinges on a contractual obligation passed down from their former manager's daughter, a situation oddly relived by a viral video of a megastar performing their song Big Bottom. But here's the part most people miss. This viral gag feels like a relic from a bygone era. The joke about internet fame is so last decade that it's practically a museum piece. And that's not an isolated misstep. The film also leans into outdated references, like a Blue Man Group gag that might have worked better in a 2004 episode of Arrested Development. Yet the sheer audacity of making a Spinal Tap movie at all is part of the fun. The cast, including Rob Reiner and Michael McKean, clearly relish playing their characters again, and their chemistry is a nostalgic anchor. The humor here is a mixed bag. Some jokes land with the charm of a well-timed dad pun, like a bit about Derek Smalls' solo projects or a rehearsal scene involving flatulence. Farts, of course, are inherently funny. But the film's reliance on low-stakes gags raises an uncomfortable question. Did the creators run out of ideas, or are they intentionally embracing the band's cringeworthy legacy? Either way, the laughs are uneven. The film's true strength lies in its characters. David St. Hubbins, Nigel Tufnell, and Derek Smalls remain endearing dopes, though this sequel lacks the original's tragic undercurrent. Back then the band was falling apart. Now they're rehearsing in a posh studio with minor squabbles. It's a softer, less chaotic version of their story, which might explain why the sequel feels like a warm-up act rather than a full concert. And what about the cameos? Sir Paul McCartney, Elton John, and Questlove pop in for a few moments of rockstar reverence. These appearances are fun, but they also highlight the film's awkward balancing act, trying to blend nostalgia with relevance. Elton John's cameo, for instance, shines in a scene at Stonehenge, but others feel like checkmarks on a list. The original Spinal Tap didn't need A-list names to work. Its power came from the absurdity of its premise. This sequel, however, seems to crave validation from the real rock world, which is both endearing and a bit cringe. So, is Spinal Tap II, The End Continues, worth watching? The verdict is nuanced. On its own, it's a light-hearted comedy with enough charm to entertain. But compared to the original, it's a shadow of its former self. The bar set by This Is Spinal Tap was stratospheric, and no sequel, no matter how many cameos or nostalgic callbacks, can truly surpass it. That said, if you're a fan of the band's chaotic spirit and the idea of seeing these characters reunite, the film is a guilty pleasure. It doesn't go to 11, but it does hit 8 or 9. And isn't that enough? Now here's the thought-provoking question I've been dodging. Should comedies like this ever be revived after decades? Do you think the humor still lands, or does it feel outdated? Share your thoughts in the comments, because if there's one thing Spinal Tap taught us, it's that every joke deserves a debate, even if it's about farts.